You may be seated. Okay, let the record reflect that the defendant is present along with counsel for the defendant, assistant state attorneys, both sides ready to proceed. Good morning. Okay, let's return Mr. Lazario to the stand, please. Okay, let's return the jury. Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Did you heed all of my previous admonitions? Okay, state recognized presence of jury. Defense?
Yes, we do.
Okay, Mr. Baez, you may proceed, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court. Mr. George. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, Mr. Lazaro.
Morning.
I want to start off and I want to talk about Caylee. Now, we talked yesterday about the interaction that you saw between Caylee and Casey.
Yes.
What I didn't ask you is, did you ever have the opportunity to see Caylee laughing with Casey?
Yes.
Did you ever see Caylee hugging Casey?
Yes.
Did you ever see Caylee run to Casey?
Yes.
Did that affection appear genuine to you?
Yes.
Was she faking that?
No.
Sustained.
Did it appear to you to be a lot of love between Caylee and Casey?
Your Honor, objection, same objection, it's speculation.
I think...
Overruled.
Yes.
And explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what you observed as to their interactions.
From what I can remember, it was completely... she'd have a book, she'd have her teddy bear. We would go down to the pool, teaching her how to swim. Talk about Caylee. Caylee liked to Dora the Explorer and could count to 40 in Spanish, which was pretty incredible for her age. And she was a great little girl.
And who taught her how to count to 40?
The Dora Explorer. From what my knowledge was her favorite show.
Okay. And how often during that time did you see Casey and Caylee hugging and showing affection with one another?
Pretty much the whole time.
Okay. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit more about the gas can that you picked up the first time from the shed.
Okay.
Okay. Did it have any duct tape on it?
Not that I can remember.
Okay. Now, as to some of these photos, do you normally, when you promote a club, have photographers there to promote so that way people can see?
Like I said, those are friends of mine, and basically they were going to school for photography, so it looks good for them to have snapshots. It helps them better their work, so when they get out of school, they could, have experience.
And when you promote your club, a lot of that is done online, is it not?
Yes.
And some of these photographs are put online, are they not?
Yeah.
And the photographs are put online so people who aren't familiar with your night at that club can see pretty much what the atmosphere is like.
Sure.
And part of that atmosphere is pretty girls.
And yeah, sure.
And young men such as yourself would prefer to go to a club that has pretty girls dancing.
Sure.
And that's kind of the idea of promotion, is to get people through to the door.
Yes.
Right. Now, and you said this, that the person who took these photographs was a friend of yours.
Yes.
Okay. And part of that, again, is showing everybody's having a good time.
Yes.
Now, yesterday we talked about, when Mr. George questioned you about you and Casey sharing secrets. Now, I don't want you to tell us what the secret is, but I do want to ask you, was that secret told before Casey got arrested?
Yes.
Okay. And so if an accusation were made that it was made up after she got arrested, that would not be true.
Objection, Your Honor.
As to relevance, overruled. Sustained as to hearsay.
Don't tell us what the secret is, but it was certainly, definitely 100% made before Casey ever got arrested.
Your Honor, the state's going to check. Let me approach.
You may. Okay, you may proceed.
Yes, sir. Mr. Lazaro, your relationship with Casey got pretty intense at towards the June and July time period, did it not? You were spending more.
Intense how?
You're spending more time together.
Yes.
You began to care for one another.
Yes.
And in fact, well, let me ask you, did Casey ever tell you she loved you?
Yes.
Did you ever tell Casey you loved her?
Yes.
Now, you would talk all the time on the phone?
Yes.
Even when you weren't together?
Well, if we weren't together, that's when we were talking on the
I
phone.
know. I meant even when you weren't in the same, you were in New York, that's what I meant.
Yes.
Yeah. And when she would go home, even after seeing her all day, you'd talk, text, and so on?
I believe so.
In fact, in one of your statements to law enforcement, you talked about how you would talk till you fall asleep, right?
Sure. Yes.
You used the word that you would talk until you just passed out. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, it wasn't because you were drunk or anything like that?
No.
Or under any drugs, was it?
No. No.
Okay, that's just a phrase that you use, passed out.
We will, because sometimes later, I usually am one of those people that will pass out on the phone. Not because it's boring or anything, but just talking on the phone is usually not my kind of thing.
Okay. But the two of you would talk at all hours of the night and text each other and everything like that?
Yes.
Now, when this all occurred on July 15th, when the news broke and everything like that, you were shocked.
Well, the news didn't break on July.
I'm sorry, July 15th or 16th. 16th, I'm sorry.
Yes.
And even today, you remain completely shocked over this situation.
Objection, Your Honor, beyond the scope of cause of speculation.
Sustained.
The questioning that Mr. George had asked you when comparing Casey's behavior before June 16th and post June 16th, that is something difficult for you to deal with, is it not?
Yes.
Because something's just not right about
Yes.
that. It's bizarre.
Objection to the relevance, Your Honor.
Overrule as to that question.
It's bizarre, right?
Yes.
And you felt that if she would have confided in anyone, it would have been you.
Yes, or her parents.
And she did not.
To my knowledge of her parents, no. And to me, definitely no.
If I can have just one moment, Judge. Now, you talked about during direct examination that any time Casey talked to her parents, she went outside.
To my knowledge, yes.
Okay. And she kept that world separate from your world.
Yes.
I have no further questions.
Redirect.
Mr. Lazaro, good morning.
Good morning.
Just want to follow up on a couple of topics that Mr. Baez had brought up to you. We'll start with some of the things he brought up this morning. In reference to the gas cans, as you sit here today, can you describe the gas cans for us?
Red.
Anything else?
They're just the small hand gas cans.
Were they, when you were asked whether or not those gas cans had duct tape, do you know?
I can't remember.
Okay. So they may have, you just don't know.
Correct.
All right. Mr. Baez also talked to you about communicating with the defendant, and I believe you stated that you would talk all the time on the phone.
Yes.
Either talking or texting or something along those lines.
Yes.
After she moved in with you on the 16th, you didn't have to talk all the time, did you?
Right.
Because she was always there.
Correct.
Yesterday, Mr. Baez was asking you about the circumstances after you obtained the gas cans and went back to the defendant's car.
Correct.
Do you remember that testimony? Do you remember Mr. Baez asking you those questions?
Yes.
All right. And when he did that, he referenced an interview.
Overrule at this point. Let him finish answering the question. Mr. Lazario, do not answer the question until I tell you to answer the question. You may continue.
Do you remember yesterday Mr. Baez asking you questions about an interview you gave to law enforcement on October 16th of 2008?
Okay. Mr. Baez, is that objection?
No objection at this time.
Okay. You may answer the question, sir.
Yes.
And do you remember him referencing a certain page to you and approached you and showed that to you? Yesterday.
Yes. He showed me a page for the AMSCA, one that we went to AMSCA.
Okay. I'd like to ask you a couple of questions about that. When you obtained the gas cans, you went back to the defendant's car, correct?
Correct.
When you got out of the car, what did you immediately do? Do you remember what you told Detective Edwards?
We grabbed the gas cans out of my tailgate and walked over to her car.
When you walked over to the car, what did you do with the gas can?
Handed it to Casey.
And what did Casey do with them at that point?
Put it into the car.
At that point, was her trunk open or closed?
Closed.
And where were you standing when she was pouring the gas into the tank?
Behind her, closer to the front of the car.
Could you smell the gasoline?
Yes.
How would you describe the scent of the gasoline? Was it very strong? Was it mild?
The same scent that you would have if you were just finishing up pouring some gas at a gas station.
And I believe you testified there were 2 gas cans, correct?
Correct.
The defendant poured the first gas can into the car?
Yes.
When that was emptied into the car, what did you do with the second gas can?
The second gas can, handed it to her.
Are you still in the same position?
No.
Okay, where are you?
Handing it to her, and then I'm actually going to close my tailgate.
All right. So you're walking away from the car.
Correct.
At this point, the trunk is the trunk still closed?
I believe so.
All right. Did the defendant then finish putting the gas into the second gas can the gas that's in the second gas can into the car.
Yes, sir.
All right. When she is done doing that, what are you doing?
I saw her walking back to her car. I was right near her car because my car was parked here and she was parked right there.
Okay. She's behind your car.
Behind me. I was in front of her.
Okay.
And I saw her open up the trunk.
All right. Now, from that vantage point, the trunk is open. You're looking at the top of the trunk, correct?
Sustain, rephrase the question.
Sure. You're in front. You're at the back of your car, but at the front of Ms. Anthony's car. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. I started to walk back to see what was going on, to see if she was done with everything.
Okay.
And that's when I saw when I say that the edge of the corner in my statement, you know how cars, when the trunk goes up, you can see underneath the trunk a little bit, you could see the rubber lining of the trunk. That's what I saw.
When you say the rubber lining of the trunk, are you referring to
where the trunk actually comes down and meets and seals?
Okay. So, could you see into the trunk?
No, I could not see in the trunk.
Again, Your Honor, thank you. I have no further questions of the witness at this time, subject to recall.
Any recross into those areas? You may proceed.
Mr. Lazaro, when the police questioned you about this specific incident,
Yes.
you knew that the trunk of the car was a significant issue in this case, did you not?
Correct.
In fact, you had seen it on the news many times
Yes, sir.
and seen it reported many times.
Yes, sir.
And despite all of that, you told them that there was no smell.
Correct.
And during this questioning, there was even a time when they were trying to ask you to close your eyes and to try and picture it. Do you recall that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that still didn't waver your testimony.
Correct.
And you still told the truth.
Yes, sir.
No further questions.
Any more questions from the state of Florida?
Not on these issues.
Okay. Mr. Lazario, you may stand down, but you're not excused. You need to wait around outside.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. State may call their next witness.
George A. Anthony, George, middle initial A, last name Anthony, Anthony.
Good morning, Mr. Anthony.
Good morning.
I want to speak to you today about the date of June 24th of 2008. On that particular date, were you home in the morning of that date?
Yes.
Now, was your schedule on that date different than on a normal work day?
Yes, I had made some plans to do a couple things around the house, meet my wife to deposit a check, and go to a job interview later that afternoon.
So you, to prepare for that, what did you do?
Well, like any other time, I go to my side shed, which is on the south side of my home, and as I walked down towards the shed to open up the door, I found that the lock had been broken.
Please display for the witness. This will be State's Exhibit LJ for identification. I'll show it to counsel. Do you recognize this, Mr. Anthony?
Yes.
Do you recognize this to be a diagram of your home and the surrounding property, particularly the backyard?
Yes.
And do you recognize it to be a fair and accurate depiction of the layout of your house and your yard?
Yes.
All right. Would it be helpful to you in describing to the jury sort of what happened, to use this diagram to kind of explain where the shed was and various things.
Well, where I kept my lawn equipment.
Let me just stop you for a second. Would it be helpful to use this to kind of point out to the jury?
Yes.
Okay. This time you ought to move to Evidence States Exhibit LJ.
What says the defense? Basis of objection?
Prior disclosure, I don't have any. It's the first time I've seen this, Judge.
Could we approach that?
Yes. You may proceed. Okay. There being no objections, it will be received in evidence as states numbered.
And I'd like to publish to the jury and allow the witness to use it to explain.
You may publish it to the jury.
All right, sir. As you're going through and telling us stuff, I want you to just kind of be able to refer to the diagram, okay?
Yes.
So you said you went out to the shed which contains your, I guess, lawn equipment.
Lawn equipment,
Okay.
yes.
Could you just, and I think you should be able to touch the screen and make a little circle, just circle which shed that is. Okay, so that's the one at the bottom right corner of the diagram.
Yes.
Okay. Now, let's just orient a couple of the things here since we've got the diagram up. There's an item up on the top right that says Playhouse. What is that?
That's Caylee's playhouse. That's that we got for her just prior to her second birthday.
All right. And obviously there's a circular item that says pool. Is that an above-ground pool?
Yes.
And the two items that are shed on the left, those are sheds holding different purposes?
The one shed we have our bicycles inside, rafts for the beach. The other one just has some other miscellaneous plant things, things for our pool. Just
all right. And
items.
The patio that's depicted here, is that a enclosed screen patio?
It's an enclosed screen patio.
All right. So you go out to the shed to start your lawn work. What do you find?
I find that the lock had been broken off of the shed. The right side door was partially open about 2 or 3 inches.
And what type of shed is this? Is it a wood shed, metal shed, plastic shed?
It's plastic, fiberglass, Rubbermaid is the brand of it.
Okay. One of those you can buy at Home Depot or Lowe's and
yes,
put together. All right. So what kind of lock was on it?
Just a small, like a master key type lock, nothing extravagant at all. I just took one key to open it up.
And was the lock still on it, but was the lock itself broken, or the shed latch was broken? What was?
Well, the shed had a 2 eyelid plastic connection that went to it, and I just slid the lock itself between it just to lock it.
Okay, sort of a hole in each door. You stick the lock
right
through the middle.
Yes, sir.
And was the shed part broken, or the lock itself broken?
Just the shed part. Just the plastic eyelet pieces were broken.
All right. So, did you open the shed to see if anything? Pardon me. If anything was missing?
Well, first thing I opened up the shed and I looked to the right, I automatically seen the lock itself. The lock was inside of the shed, which I thought was somewhat unusual. And I just did a quick scan, and I seen the lawnmower was there, other tools and stuff that I'd be using, the blower, the edger, also a generator I have in there. And I looked over to my left where I kept the gas cans up above the ground, and both gas cans were gone.
Now, were any of the actual power tools missing? The lawnmowers, edgers, any of that more expensive
No, they were not, which I found somewhat unusual.
So just the gas cans?
Just the gas cans.
Okay, so what did you do in response to that?
Well, first took a step back and just shook my head and wondered, okay, why just take the gas cans?
Okay.
When there was other things more valuable to me, inside there.
Sure.
I immediately just went and I said, well, I need to make a report on this because again, this could be conceived as hearsay, but neighbors do talk, and we know that there has been minor thefts, gas taken from vehicles, so on and so forth in the area.
All right.
So I just thought, well, I'll at least call and make a report. If the gas cans are ever found and make a description of them, I'll get them back.
All right. And did you, what agency did you call?
I called the Orange County Sheriff's Department because we're in their jurisdiction.
And approximately what time of the day would this have been?
I'm going to say it was probably close to maybe 10:30 in the morning, and I know within about 10 minutes after making the initial report, I had a deputy show up to my house.
Okay. It's just more than one deputy or just?
Just one deputy came to our front curb area. Very nice gentleman. I explained to him what happened, and he explained that there have been thefts in the neighborhood.
Okay.
Things like that.
Did you make a report, fill out paperwork to make a report of the theft?
I filled out a report, signed it, gave a brief description of what the gas cans looked like. He said, is there a value on them? And I said, probably in the same neighborhood, maybe between gas and the gas cans replacing, maybe $50. I said, could be more, could be a little bit less, but at least that.
And did he, make an extensive investigation, dust for fingerprints, take DNA samples, anything like that?
No, he just said he would make the report. He would go ahead and have it available for me if I want to stop by.
Sustain.
All right. So how long was the deputy there?
5-10 minutes. It wasn't a real long report.
And did he leave you some paperwork to document that you had made the report?
Yes.
All right. So what did you do about your plan to do yard work?
Well, I sort of had to put that on hold because I knew I'd have to go out and purchase new gas cans to get the job done.
Did you actually go out and buy new gas cans at that point?
Yes, I went out and bought 2 more plastic gas cans, but I also went and alerted my next-door neighbor, the Bruner residents, who just had moved in just about 3 years prior to that.
That would be Mr. Berner?
Yes, he was here yesterday.
All right. So did you get your lawn mowed?
Pardon
me?
me?
Did you get your lawn mowed that day?
As a matter of fact, I did not get my lawn mowed that day.
Okay. Did there come a point in time, up until this point, from June 16th that we talked about previously to this date, June 24th, had you seen your daughter, Casey?
I can't remember seeing Casey come back, to our house at all. I don't remember seeing her from the last time I saw her on the 16th till I made the report.
So on the 24th, did you see your daughter?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Approximately what time was that?
Shortly after 2 p.m. in the afternoon.
Now, is that a time where, on your normal schedule, you would have been already on your way to work?
Within that 2 to 2:15 time, 2:15 p.m., I would have been leaving for work, yes.
But you were there because of the interview?
Yes, because my interview wasn't until 6 p.m. that evening.
So, tell us what led up to your seeing Casey.
I was just inside my living room area. I just had come home after depositing a check with my wife at our local bank, and was just sort of easing into my thought process of what I was going to be doing this interview. It was a great opportunity for me, and just trying to feel at ease for the next couple hours or so.
Sustain.
So you were in your living room?
Yes.
Okay. Just sort of put a little spot on your living room. I guess it's pretty obvious, but right there. Okay. So you're in your living room. Tell us about what happened next. You're seeing Casey.
Well, after being home just a few moments, I heard the garage door come up, and next thing I know, here's Casey coming in the house.
Now, was your car in the garage?
Yes.
All right. So you hear the door come up, and obviously your car is in there. So, are you concerned at all about who's coming in the middle of the afternoon?
I was concerned because I knew it couldn't have been my wife because she'd still been working because I just had saw her previously. And
okay. So when you first see Casey, let me just clear this diagram here. When you first saw Casey, where was she? Just put a little circle on the diagram.
I first saw Casey just right near the front door area.
And she was coming in from the garage through this. What is that room between the garage and the living room?
Wherever the AC unit is at, if I'm
Right.
pointing right there, we have a little hallway that comes in from the garage.
And is that where she came through?
Yes.
Okay. Were you surprised to see her?
Yes, happy. I mean, I was glad to see my daughter. I haven't seen her for some time, and just
What was her reaction to seeing you?
somewhat of surprise on her part.
Now, pardon me. Tell me about, did you have a conversation with her?
Yes, I did. I asked her how she was doing, what she's doing there. I asked, where's Caylee? And she says, Dad, I only got 10 minutes. I got to get my clothes. I got to take off and go to work. I said, oh, okay. I mean, then I did ask some a little bit more about her and, schedule. I asked some a little more about Caylee, where's she at? I haven't talked to her. We haven't seen her. Has Mom been talking to you? And she was a little evasive with me, but again, she said she had 10 minutes. I said, okay.
Did you just assume she was rushing somewhere?
She was rushing to get some clothes to go to work. And I said, okay.
Now, upon seeing Casey and upon what you told us about early in the morning, did you become to suspect that she might know something about these missing gas cans?
I have felt on different occasions that the gas cans or gas has been used without my knowledge from different times, and I was always just wondering, it just doesn't evaporate that quickly, especially when it's a concealed area that I have it in and locked and things like that. I did ask Casey about it.
Okay.
And she said, Dad, I don't know what you're talking about. And I says, well, it's really wild. As I said, I go to mow the grass this morning, and I said, I don't have any gas for the lawnmower and for the edger and stuff. She says, oh, Dad, she says, I don't know what to tell you. And I said, okay. And I sort of just let it go for a moment. But then again, I've seen some indication on her car where there were like spill marks and stuff like that whenever...
You're talking about in the past?
In the past, yes.
Okay.
And I've seen spill marks on the particular Sunfire she has.
Well, I don't want to go too deep into why you were suspicious. The question, I guess the point was that you thought maybe she had taken the gas.
Yes.
All right. So what did you do in an effort to investigate that?
Well, I just wanted to, I guess, maybe conduct my own little, I don't want to say the word investigate. I just wanted to question her a little bit more about some things. So I decided, well, I was planning on that weekend changing the oil in my wife's car, rotating the tires. I do that stuff at our home. And inside of Casey's car and my wife's vehicle, I have these little metal triangular triangular things that you support with your tires with when you jack your car up that the car doesn't move. Well, Casey had one, and I put it back there, so I knew it should be there. And
Like something to keep the car from sliding back while you're working on it? Okay.
So I inquired about going out and getting it. I said, Casey, I need to get something out of your car. Her conversation to me was, what do you want to get out of the car? I said, that little metal type block, that little triangular block. I said, I need that, again, like I said, to work on her mother's car for the weekend. Dad, I'll get it for you. I said, no, Casey, I know where it's at. I got an extra key. I'll just go out and get it.
So you had a key to her car.
Right. We've always kept at least 2 or 3 extra keys for each one of our vehicles in case we get locked out.
So you could have gone out and opened the trunk while she was getting ready or whatever. Okay.
So after just maybe a little bit of back and forth, talk here and there, I mean, it was very cordial, very nice. As I'm starting to walk down our little hallway to go out through the garage because the garage door is open, Casey just brushes past me very quickly, says, Dad, I'll get it. I'll get it out of the car. He says, Casey, I'm capable of going out and get it. So as she almost nearly runs to the back of her car, and I'm walking, just thinking, okay, here we go, a little funny time here between her and I. As I get towards the end of the car, right at the passenger rear, just where the taillight and stuff is at, Casey opens up the trunk, throws the trunk open, reaches in and grabs the gas cans. She said, here, I hate to say this, here's your fucking gas cans, and places them down on the ground and slams her trunk. I didn't know what to say at first. And I said, why? She says, I needed them. I've had over Dad, I needed them. I've been having problems with the car, so on and so forth. I said, this makes no sense to me. She says, well, I've been taking a trip. She said, I've been needing for, I run low on fuel. I don't have money or this. And I said, whatever the reason is, I said, I don't want to get upset any more than I already am. I said, and you don't need to get upset before I go into work. I says, we'll talk later. So I picked up the gas cans and I went in to where my garage door was and I just set them on our little freezer that we had and just told Kay, I said, listen, we'll talk later. Because I was just, I don't know, I guess the word mortified, I guess, could be. It's like, I know in the past they had been missing or used, and now finally when I caught her with them.
Well, let me stop here because I don't want to go too far into the past. Suffice it to say, you were a little annoyed
Yes.
about this. Okay. As you, the car, her car, was it in your garage or was it on the driveway?
Is in a driveway parked about right in the middle of the drive itself.
Now, when she opened the trunk, did you look in the trunk?
Never had a chance to.
Okay. Now, when you were standing there at the trunk, did you smell anything unusual?
The only smell that I had was the smell of gas from these gas cans. That's the only thing I had at the time.
Okay, that's the only thing you remember?
Yes.
All right. All right, so you got your gas cans back. What did Casey do then?
She abruptly got into her car, backed out of the driveway, and I didn't see her again.
Now, during any of these conversations with Casey, did you mention to her that you had called the police?
I had told her about that I had made a report, and she said, well, yes. She says, I talked to Mom. Mom knows about it. I said, okay, Mom knows about it.
Had you told your wife during the interim hours about the gas cans and the police report and all that?
Right after I'd made the report with the sheriff's department, I called Cindy briefly, and I just it sort of made her chuckle for a second and made me sort of chuckle. And I said, guess what? I said, someone broke into our shed and took our gas cans.
Okay. You said somebody broke in and you told her about the break-in?
Yes, I told Cindy about that, yes.
All right. Now, let me just... Okay, could I have State's Exhibit AJ, please? Now, sir, would you look at State's Exhibit AJ? Let me get rid of the annotation here. Is that one of the gas cans that we've been talking about here?
Yes.
And it's an older metal gas can?
Yes.
How long have you had it?
Wow. 25 years at least. That I've had it for quite some time.
Now, in this photograph, it has a piece of duct tape over over a portion of it. Do you see that?
Yes.
Now, was it your habit to place a piece of duct tape on this can for some reason?
The only reason that piece of duct tape is on there is because the plastic cap, it's a vent cap that is generally on any type of gas can or something like that to vent when you're pouring it out, was gone. When Casey brought those back to me, brought this one and the other smaller one back to me, it was gone. So I did place that particular one back on there because I didn't want a gas smell out in the shed or inside the house.
All right. May I have State's AK? And you see State's Exhibit AK, which is being shown to you. It's a photograph taken at a later time, obviously, but is that the other gas can we're talking about?
Yes, it is.
All right. Could I have a State's Exhibit D? Yes, State's Exhibit D, please. Looking at State's Exhibit D, do you recognize this as a photograph? Do you recognize what this is a photograph of?
That is our Pontiac Sunfire.
Now, when you say ours, clarify its legal ownership for us for a moment.
The Pontiac Sunfire is in my name and my wife's name. We have title to the vehicle.
And at the particular time that we're speaking of, which is June 24th, whose car was this as far as use and possession?
It was Casey's car.
No further questions.
Cross-examination?
Judge, we would request the morning recess at this time. That's possible.
Okay. We will take a 15-minute recess at this time to 10 minutes past the hour. Okay, you may be seated. Okay, Mr. Anthony, you may resume the stand. Okay, let the record reflect that the defendant is present along with counsel for the defendant, assistant state attorneys, both sides ready to proceed.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's return to jury. Okay, members of the jury, I will talk with you at the noon hour, okay? All right, Mr. Baez, you may proceed.
Please, the court. Mr. Anthony, you testified under direct examination that you knew Casey would take gas from the gas cans.
I had suspected that in the past, yes.
And you had actually caught her and confronted her about it previously.
We had a discussion about it, yes.
And in fact, you told her, if you need gas, I will give you $10 for it. Don't take gas from my gas cans.
Yes.
And it would upset you that Casey would take gas from the gas cans prior to this ever happening.
Yes.
Now, on June 24th, you haven't seen your granddaughter for 9 days.
Yes.
And you lived with her all her life.
Yes.
Never went 24 hours without seeing her.
That, yes.
And on June 24th,
Okay, let's go off the record for a second and see what's going on.
I just picked it up here.
thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Anthony, you stated the last time you saw your granddaughter was on June 16th, correct?
Correct.
And on June 24th, you called the police.
Yes.
And you called the police to report gas cans missing.
Yes.
Not your granddaughter missing.
Correct.
Is that a yes, sir?
My granddaughter was not missing at that time.
My question to you is, not your granddaughter missing. Is that correct?
Asked and answered.
Overruled.
My granddaughter was not missing at that time.
I didn't
to my
ask you
knowledge.
that, sir. I asked you whether that you didn't call the police to report your granddaughter was missing on June 24th. Did you, sir?
I didn't call about my granddaughter being missing on the 24th of June.
So
I
the
called
answer
a
is-
reference to a gas cans being taken from my shed.
So the answer is yes.
Yes.
Now, when you had the police officer there, and you were talking about these gas cans, did you tell this police officer, my granddaughter's missing?
No.
Did you tell him, my daughter has been basically not telling me the truth as to where she is?
Objection. Argumentative. Assumes facts that are not in evidence.
Overruled at this point, Mr. Ashton.
Did you tell that to the deputy when he arrived?
No.
Did you tell the deputy, even though I'm reporting these gas cans missing, my daughter has been taking gas in the past?
No.
Did you tell the police officer, I even confronted my daughter about taking gas in the past?
No.
Did you call your daughter and ask her, hey, did you take gas?
No.
You didn't do any of those things.
Did not.
Instead, you picked up the phone and called the police.
Yes.
Now, this alleged argument that you had with her, you stated that she basically came in, was in a hurry,
Yes.
and she told you she had to go to work.
Yes.
And you told her you needed to get something out of her trunk.
Yes.
And she didn't want you near her trunk.
Yes.
And she opened the trunk.
Yes.
And you didn't smell anything.
Yes. Didn't smell anything.
And you said, I hate to say this. Here's your fucking gas cans. You said that, right?
That's what she said to me.
But that's what you testified to.
Yes.
Now, when she gave you these gas cans, they did not have any duct tape on it, did they?
Had no duct tape whatsoever.
And before that, actually, you could see in her trunk, could you not?
I could not.
I'd like to refer counsel to Bates, page 7921.
Could I have the date of the statement?
July 30th, 2000. Sorry.
I'm gonna remind you one more time. When you speak into a microphone. Walking around and talking, the court reporter cannot hear you. So if you're not at the podium, you're not with a microphone on, do not speak. You may continue.
Yes, sir. Mr. Anthony, do you recall giving a statement to the FBI on July 30th of 2008?
I don't remember the exact date, but I talked to the FBI and
You talked
numerous
to
times.
an agent, Scott Boland. Do you remember speaking to Agent
I remember who Scott Boland is, yes.
And do you recall that they videotaped you?
I'm sure we were videotaped numerous times, yes.
And page 44, line 21 and 22.
Find it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
May proceed.
When Agent Scott, do you recall Agent Scott Bowling saying, okay, when she popped the trunk, were you back at the back of the car? And you answered, yeah, there was definitely, I could see clothes back there. Do you recall making that statement, sir?
I don't recall making that statement, but presumably I guess I did if it's written down there in written word.
So your testimony under direct examination that you couldn't see what was in the trunk of the car was not true, sir?
Objection.
Overruled.
You may answer.
I don't recall exactly if I saw clothes in their car or not. I was at the passenger rear corner of the car when Casey pulled the gas cans out.
You know that the trunk of this car is an issue in this case, do you not, sir?
Absolutely, I know that.
And you know, by coming and testifying for the prosecution, that you couldn't see in the trunk of the car would give the impression that you weren't close enough to smell it.
Objection.
Don't you, sir?
Argumentative.
Sustain this to that question.
If you testified, sir, under direct that, well, strike that. Mr. Anthony, you actually were close enough to smell the trunk of that car, were you not?
The only smell that I had was the smell of gas cans, and they're placed on the ground in front of me.
And you did not smell any smell of human decomposition on June 24th of 2008 in the trunk of your daughter's car?
Did not.
Now, you just testified that when Casey gave you the gas cans, it did not have duct tape on it, correct?
Which one are you talking about, sir? There's two of them.
When she said, "Here's your fucking gas cans," it did not have duct tape on it.
Which one are you referring to?
Neither. Neither one of the gas cans had duct tape on it.
Again, you're not being specific with me. I'm not trying to be argumentative, sir. You're not being specific with me.
Right. Can you see on your screen
Yes.
that gas can?
Yes, sir. And if you would describe that as being one that was a cylinder shape,
Right.
I would agree with you. We wouldn't have had this little
Okay.
moment.
Is that clear enough for you?
Yes, sir.
That did not have duct tape on it, did it not?
When my daughter gave it back to me that day on the 24th outside in our our driveway area, it did not have a piece of duct tape on it.
And we're clear about that.
Yes.
Crystal clear.
Objection. Argumentative asked and answered.
Sustain.
Now, Mr. Anthony, this photograph was taken by law enforcement, was it not?
Yes.
Okay. Now, she gave this gas can back to you on the 24th, correct?
Yes.
Now, the reason you called the police is because you had to mow your lawn
Yes.
and there was no gas.
Yes.
And between the 24th of June and August 1st, you had to cut your grass.
Probably did.
In fact, you're pretty religious about it. You cut your grass every week.
Could. Not every week, every other week, every 10 days. It just depends.
Referring to the deposition, Mr. Anthony's deposition. August 5th, 2009, counsel. Okay. Page 199, lines 14 through 17. Mr. Anthony, do you recall making this?
Your Honor, if I may just have a moment to look at it.
Sure.
Just a second. Okay.
Mr. Anthony.
What's the objection?
It does not qualify as an inconsistent statement.
Yes. 12 through 17?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's approach the bench. You may proceed.
Mr. Anthony, you try to mow your lawn every week or at least every 10 days, do you not?
Yes.
And in fact, during that time period from June 24th to August 1st, you did mow your lawn.
I'll have to maybe agree or not agree with that. I'm not really sure. I don't write that stuff down on the calendar.
How many days is from now on June 24th? Your lawn needed mowing, did it not?
Yes.
And that's why you were out looking for the gas cans. That's something funny, sir.
Your question is sort of funny to me. I mean, to have my mower run, it has to run on gas. So I'm just sort of just chuckling a moment about that. But yes, I'll agree. Yes, I mowed the grass. I wanted to mow the grass that day. I didn't have fuel for the lawnmower to mow it with.
So you mowed your lawn. Obviously, the grass was high on June 24th, enough to need mowing.
Yes.
And between June 24th and August 1st, that's 6-7 weeks, right?
No, sir. It's only a few days.
You forget the month of July?
No, starting it from month of July. You said weeks, sir, and first you brought it up to August 1st. It's a month, maybe 5 weeks. I'm sure I cut the yard sometime in July, end of June.
May I ask the witness to stand down, Your Honor?
Witness may stand down. Okay. Make sure there's a break between the question and the answer, and make sure that the answer, the court reporter can hear it. Please face the court reporter when talking.
Your Honor, could I ask Mr. Baez to step to the side so that I can see what's being
You may want to move so you can see.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Can you please put down the date that you last saw Caylee? Can you please mark the day you needed to cut your grass? And then can you please put police report on the 24th, the same day? Can you please mark the date you informed law enforcement of this gas can incident with your daughter?
Your Honor, counsel has placed the July over the June, so we can't mark the June date because the July is up.
No, it's already been marked.
I apologize. Maybe I'm missing the question. The question was the date you informed law enforcement, which was you just testified was June.
After your daughter, can you put down the date your daughter, your granddaughter was reported missing? Can you put down the date you told law enforcement about this argument you had with Casey over the trunk and the gas cans?
I don't know when I had given that information.
Did they confiscate the gas cans immediately after you told them?
You have to come up with the date, sir. I have no idea.
On August 1st, 2008, did law enforcement collect gas cans from your home?
If I might look at that photo, I can probably give you a better idea.
Yes, sir. If that refreshes your recollection, go ahead.
That photograph shows that cylinder gas can on August 1st.
And on August, did you go with law enforcement to your home to collect the gas cans?
A second time I did, on another particular date.
When you told law enforcement of this argument, when was that?
I have no idea. I have no idea when we first discussed that. I don't have it. I'm not a human calendar. I don't have anything in front of me to show me. You might have that information, or the state might. I'm not trying to be argumentative, sir, but you're throwing stuff all over the place here.
On August 1st, July 30th, did you tell the FBI when you met with them about this incident with your daughter?
That's a possibility. I don't have the records in front of me. I don't have any indication of what I said at those different times.
I'll take that for you. If you have a seat, I'll get you that. I need his... I'm not, Judge.
Okay. You may.
Showing you, Mr. Anthony, your statement given to the FBI on July 31st. Can you turn to page 43, please? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear. 43. I would direct you to lines 21 through 25.
Okay.
Having read that, does that refresh your recollection?
Objection, Your Honor, as to what?
As to you telling law enforcement about this incident.
I don't believe he's indicated a failure of recollection. I'm sorry, speaking of objection. I have an objection. I would need to explain to the bench.
Let me try and
rephrase the question
to move this along. Mr. Anthony, do you recall telling anyone about this gas can incident before July 31st, 2008?
Yes, because I made a report on the 24th of June.
Let me rephrase that. Since Caylee was reported missing, did you make any statements to law enforcement prior to July 31st, 2008?
You're trying to confuse me here. Yes, you are, sir.
No, sir, I'm not.
We're talking about a gas can. You're talking about my granddaughter. So be specific with one or the other, sir, and then I'll be more than glad to get through this with you.
I'll rephrase the question.
Thank you.
You need to go to the microphone if you're going to ask them questions.
From July 15th, 2008, that was the day you reported your granddaughter missing, right? She was reported missing on that day.
Yes.
And this statement was on July 31st, 2008. Do you recall making any statements about the argument with Casey prior to that?
If you're talking about what's here in the printed word about the gas cans...
That's what I'm referring to. Yes, sir. This alleged argument that you just finished testifying about for almost an hour, did you tell anybody about that before July 31st?
I'm not sure when this was exactly done, sir. I'm not sure when this deposition was taken through. You have to be specific with me, sir. Give me a date, and I'll answer.
I'm giving you a date, but
no, sir. You are badgering me. You're trying to get me upset, sir.
No, wait, Mr. Anthony. Did you finish answering the question, sir?
Yes, Judge, I did.
Okay, question.
Did you give law enforcement or tell anyone in law enforcement about this alleged argument before July 31st, 2008? Do you recall?
If I may answer your question as politely as I possibly can, according to what I can see here, I did give information about the gas can and about having an argument with my daughter on the 31st of July. It's right here in printed words, sir. It's right here.
Okay. Can you come, please, and write down the day you explained the arguments?
Remain seated, sir. Now, do you have something to ask Mr. Baez?
Yes, sir. May the witness stand up.
Witness may stand down.
Can you please mark on July 31st argument, or date of reporting argument, please? Can you please put a 1 next to the 31st so we know that that's August 1st, Friday? Little box. Have a seat. No, sir. From June 24th to August 1st, when the gas cans were collected, I'm sorry, did you mow your lawn?
Yes, I'd purchased some other gas cans along the way.
Did you use those gas cans? Put gas in?
No, I did not.
Are you certain?
On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably give myself probably a 9.9.
Okay. And since you didn't use them, you probably didn't put any duct tape on that gas can since you mowed your lawn from the 24th to August 1st, right?
I just answered your question. I'd purchased other gas cans. I don't believe I used them after that.
So you wouldn't have probably put a piece of duct tape on that gas can?
Objection to speculation.
Overruled. You can ask the question, sir.
If I can reiterate here, this piece of tape that's on this can right now, I'm probably the one to put that on there prior to it being taken, because the simple fact is, I'm going to get very technical here for you. Whenever you have gas inside of a can and it gets a very fumy type thing, it could explode. So I probably put that in there when I set it aside. I'm just speculating probably what I did. You're going in an area, sir, that my life and my wife's wife...
Judge, I'm going to object to this narration and ask that it be stricken.
Overruled.
Mr. Anthony.
Your Honor, may the witness
Finish answering the question, sir.
My life and my wife's life, when this started for us, we were running on fumes, going day by day, just trying to find my granddaughter. And some of these things that you're asking me to be specific on, I'm trying to do the best I can. Is there some things that I might not remember exactly? I think that happens to anyone. But when you get into this thing with you and I, sir, you're going off in a way to get me more upset, and I don't think that's fair. I'm just asking you, treat me with a little bit of respect, and you'll get respect back. That's all I'm asking.
Mr. Anthony, would you like to answer my question now?
objection to counsel's commentary.
Sustain.
Would you like the...
Next question.
Do you remember my question, sir?
No, sir, I do not.
Can Your Honor, may I ask the court reporter read back the question to the witness?
Court reporter may read the question back.
Question, so you wouldn't have probably put a piece of duct tape on that gas can?
And your answer to that question, sir?
To store that gas can in my shed, after receiving it back, I would have put a small piece of duct tape on it to cover that vent hole so it wouldn't have a fumey smell inside of my shed.
And you just testified a moment ago that you put that piece of duct tape on that can, did you not?
I'm presumed that I'm the one who put that on there.
Okay. Deposition, page 160, line 11 and 12. May I proceed, Your Honor?
Just a second. Sure. You may proceed.
Do you recall giving a deposition on this case, sir?
I've given numerous depositions on this case.
On August 5th, 2009.
Can you give me a location where this was held?
At the State Attorney's Office.
Yes, I remember that.
I was present.
Yes.
Mr. Ashton was present.
Yes.
Your attorney, Brad Conway, was present.
Yes.
You took an oath
Yes.
to tell the truth,
Yes.
the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Objection. Argumentative and editorial commentary. By
Sustained. Rephrase the question.
You took an oath to tell the truth, sir.
Yes.
And do you recall being asked a question by Mr. Ashton? Now, the gas can appears to have a piece of duct tape on it. Do you recognize that? And do you recall giving the following answer? I didn't put the duct tape on there.
Okay, we can clarify this right now. This gas can...
My question, sir, is do you recall making that statement?
Interrupted.
Sustained. Let him answer the question. Mr. Anthony, you may answer the question, sir.
I'm trying to clarify. This gas can was taken from my residence on 2 occasions. The second occasion that you're referring to that it was taken, when I had seen the photograph of it, there was a larger piece of duct tape on there. I did not put that on there. If that's what you're talking about, sir.
I'm referring to this piece of duct tape in the image standing that is right before you, sir.
But, sir, this is not the one that I was shown on August 5th of 2009. This is not the photograph that I was shown.
If I can have just a moment, Judge. Page 163, lines 8 through 20. Sir, do you recall the first... Yes, sir.
All right.
Objection. Not an inconsistent statement.
Just a second. Mr. Baez.
It's giving the date there, Your Honor. May we approach?
No.
I think it's fairly clear.
Well, you can ask them a question about the date, but you don't need to read the deposition.
Do you recall?
Remember, this image that y'all keep referring to is not in evidence.
Yes, sir.
So it's kind of hard to question somebody about something that's not in evidence at this time.
At this time, yes, sir.
Proceed.
Mr. Anthony, were you not advised that this photograph that's in front of you was identified with the date during your deposition?
Again, sir, this particular image of this particular photo was not shown to me in your presence and in the state attorney's presence on the August 5th of 2009. This was not shown to me. There was another photograph of a gas can that could have been this one that was more filthy dirty because of because of powder from like fingerprints and stuff like that, and a larger piece of duct tape being on it. This is not the one that I was shown in August 5th, 2009. This is not it.
May I proceed, Judge?
You may proceed.
Do you recall being asked a question by Mr. Ashton? This photograph was taken on August 1st.
Same objection.
May I finish the question?
Approach, folks. You may proceed.
Yes, sir. Mr. Anthony will return to this photograph at a later time.
Objection to counsel's editorial commentary.
Overruled. Let's proceed, gentlemen.
Now, Mr. Anthony, was it your testimony? Well, let me ask you this. When you gave the gas cans to the police on August 1st, did the gas cans have duct tape on it?
Again, you're asking for cans. Be specific and say a can or give me a description, sir. I'll help you any way I can.
The cylinder gas can that you've had for 20 years that is almost a part of you, when you gave them that gas can, did it have duct tape on it?
Well, this photograph shows it for August 1st of 2008. Yes, it shows that it's on there.
So is that your testimony today, sir?
Yes.
I refer counsel to page 210. Lines 1 through 11. Now, Mr. Anthony, the can that you are looking at right now, that's the one that's 20 years old and is sort of a part of you.
Folks, did y'all hear anything that I said at sidebar?
Yes, sir. I'll rephrase the question.
Okay. Let's take the jury out.
All rise to the jury.
You may be seated. The can which you keep referring to as West Exhibit Number, Madam Clerk, for identification.
Your Honor.
Do not interrupt me, sir.
It's AJ for the record.
AJ?
AJ.
Okay. State's Exhibit AJ is not in evidence, as I said at the sidebar conference. Until it's in evidence, you can't question somebody about a photograph that is not in evidence. The only questions that you could talk about are foundational questions. I don't know how many times I have to tell.
Maybe you have to be excused during this argument.
No. All I'm saying is move on to another area. It is not in evidence. When it goes in evidence, then you're free to question him, but the item has not been introduced. How are you going to question somebody about something that's not in evidence? You're questioning about a photograph that's not in evidence.
I would like to proffer to the court at sidebar or outside of the witness's presence how I intend on referring to this and
Sir,
how I intend on proceeding.
I am not coming to sidebar on this item now. The one thing we can do is let you proffer Mr. Lazario's testimony since I've taken the jury out at this time. As to that, Mr. Anthony, you can step down for the moment, sir. Return, Mr. Lazario. No.
I don't believe that Mr. Lazario is currently here. He knows to come back.
Who told him to leave? I asked that he remain outside.
Your Honor, it was requested of me if they could get an early lunch. I anticipated not needing him before the lunch hour actually started, and okay. I apologize.
Let me make myself abundantly clear, folks. I asked him to remain outside. The defense had requested to proffer his testimony. So don't do it again.
The witness left.
Yeah, Mr. George is just informing me that he left. Does the state intends to introduce this photograph? You didn't at the time.
Eventually, yes, sir. When it's properly authenticated, we have a full explanation of how it came to be. My understanding as by way of proffer is that Mr. Anthony wasn't present when his photograph was taken. So,
Mr. Bias, you can question about cans all day long, but you cannot question him about that particular photograph, which is not in evidence. Okay, if anybody needs to take a break, you got 5 minutes to take a break. After that, we're going to charge on through until noon. We'll be in a 5-minute recess. Couple of housekeeping matters. I have a couple of questions from the jurors that I got this morning. The first question reads as follows. Are the first 12 jurors the one who decide the case, or is a new order picked at the end of the presentation? Question 2. At the end of the presentations, are the alternates allowed to go home? My proposed answer to both of those questions is at this time I cannot answer your questions concerning questions 1 and 2. That's something they don't need to know at this particular stage. Any objections from the state or the defense? He agrees.
That's fine. I agree also perhaps with an additional suggestion that all of the date to pay, the most careful attention and something to just encourage them, each and every one, to be attentive. Sorry, my mic wasn't on. I apologize.
Okay. The other one is basically a couple of housekeeping things. They want to arrange to watch the Tampa Bay Lightning game Friday night in the common room. So I'm having to make sure that what network it's on and whether or not they run any news on that particular network. And the other one was they wanted pretzels in the break room. The other question that they had, some of them apparently they keep diaries or daily journals that they've kept throughout their life, and they want to know can they continue to do that, or whether or not they should or should not do that.
My only suggestion would be if they want to write about something other than the case, since Obviously, when they're taking notes here, they're told to leave them and that they will not get them back. Going back to the hotel and then writing what they remember happened during the day seems to violate that.
Yeah, it does.
I would agree with Mr. Verdict.
Okay. And the other items just basically have to deal with some other issues that I need to talk with them, but I take a court reporter back with me. Just common questions about security that I'm not going to discuss here. On their first two questions, when they come in, I will answer that in open court, and I will tell them about the lightning, the pretzels, when I talk to them with those other subjects. Okay, let's return the jury, and then we'll return Mr. Anthony, but let's return the jury first. Okay, let's stay recognized President Jury.
Yes, sir.
And the defense. Okay, members of the jury, some of your questions that you wrote to me, I can answer here. The balance of those questions I will answer at noon for you back in the jury room. The question that you had about the first 12 jurors would be the one that would decide the case. And the second question at the end of the presentations, are the alternates allowed to go home? Members of the jury, these are questions that I cannot answer for you at this particular time. As I told you earlier, all jurors, and we have not openly told you who are alternates and who are not alternates, are to pay close attention to all of the evidence during the trial. It's no secret that it's a long trial. May or may not be as long as we thought, but I won't know that until probably the end of next week. So don't worry about that. Worry about paying close attention to the evidence, and we will get you back home to Pinellas County as soon as we can. The question for those of you who keep journals or diaries, remember what I told you at the beginning. You may take notes. I also told you that you can take notes on the trial in here and not to take notes away. Consistent with that instruction, if you keep a journal, you need to talk about everything in your journal except what occurs in this courtroom of things dealing with the trial. So if you had a show that you watched or had a nice walk or a conversation with some juror you want to chronicle, or friendships you've made or not made, you can write that, but you can't write anything about the trial in your journals, okay? Because what happens with your notes, once you leave your notes here, all the notes are placed inside of an envelope. Those notes are taken and secured away at night. So when you leave out of here, what happens, they are immediately taken out. They're placed inside of an envelope, and then they're locked into a vault overnight. So that's what happens to those. The other things I will talk with you back in the back. Hopefully at the end of the day I will have an answer about the lightning. For those of you who are interested in the Tampa Bay Lightning and the hockey game. Okay, let's bring Mr. Anthony back, please. Okay, you may proceed, Mr. Baez.
Yes, sir. Mr. Anthony, I want to ask you a question. I want to be clear about it, so I'm going to... it's going to be a little bit of a long question. So this jury can be absolutely certain. The round cylinder gas can that you have had for over 20 years, when you gave it to law enforcement on August 1st, did it have a piece of duct tape on it?
Yes.
And you're 100% certain of that?
Yes.
Okay. Now do you recall after your granddaughter was reported missing on the 15th, and your daughter was arrested on the 16th, correct?
Correct.
And on the 17th, a detective came back by the name of Appy Wells came to your home. Do you recall that?
Objection. Exceeding the scope of direct.
Relates to the gas can, Judge.
I'm sorry.
Sustained, that wasn't a question about a gas can.
I'm getting there.
But it wasn't a question about a gas can. Sustained.
On July 17th, 2008, did Detective Appy Wells search your shed?
I don't remember.
Do you remember Detective Appy Wells coming to your home the day after your daughter was arrested?
No, I do not.
Do you remember Detective Wells, you giving Detective Wells a tour of your backyard?
At some time, I'm sure I did. If you're asking for a specific date, I don't remember. Again, this is when everything was happening. We had so many people around us.
Do you remember if you opened the shed where these gas cans were held at any time for Detective Wells?
Not presumably him, but I know I opened the shed up within probably one of those first few days, because we had the cadaver dogs at our house. We had law enforcement, media, everywhere.
That shed where these gas cans are stored, how many shovels are in there?
Objection. Exceeds the scope of direct.
The shed has been brought up, Your Honor, and discussed during direct examination.
Overruled.
How many shovels are in that shed?
3 or 4.
So you have 3 or 4 shovels in that specific shed?
Yes.
And that these gas cans are stored in?
Yes.
You also have expensive lawn equipment, right?
Yes.
Mowers, weed eaters?
1 mower, 1... Yes, I'll agree.
When you showed the shed to the detective or whomever you showed it to, did you inform them of the argument that you had with your daughter on the 24th?
I probably did share that with them. I don't know. I don't remember.
You don't recall, or you probably did. Can you give us a clear
I just
answer?
told you, sir. I don't remember if I did or not. There was just a lot of things that were talked about and shown.
The first night that your granddaughter was reported missing, you spoke with detectives, did you not?
Not on the 15th, I did not. No.
You didn't speak to Detective Melich that evening or the early morning hours of the 16th?
On the 16th, I did.
And you told him about the smell of the car that evening, did you not?
Objection. Exceeds the scope of direct.
Sustained.
Did you tell Detective Melich about the gas cans and the argument you had where your daughter wouldn't let you near the trunk of the car when you spoke with Detective Melich that evening?
Objection, improper impeachment. I'd like to explain more to the bench.
Overruled.
I don't remember saying that to him, no.
What about the 16th? Did you talk to detectives the 17th. Did you talk to detectives on that day?
I'd talked to Orange County Sheriff's detectives numerous times that first week or two.
And on all of those dates, who did you tell about this argument before the 31st?
Improper impeachment, and I would like to explain to the bench.
Sustained.
Did you ever tell anyone from law enforcement prior to July 31st about the gas can fight with your daughter?
Objection, improper impeachment.
Not impeach.
Overruled. You can ask the question.
I probably did in some course of one of those days. Possibly I did. I don't know. I don't remember of every bit of conversation I had with law enforcement, FBI. I don't remember all those things.
So you can't recall?
I answered at least 3 times. He does not remember. He can't recall. Move to another area.
Yes, sir. Now, Mr. Anthony, you've had the opportunity to sit in the courtroom throughout all the testimony, have you not?
Yes.
In fact, you asked your lawyer to...
Mr. Baez, do not go there. Next question.
You were specifically excluded from the rule of sequestration?
Mr. Baez, approach the sidebar. You may proceed.
Judge, I have no further questions of this witness at this time.
Okay. Witness may stand down. You have any redirect? Okay.
Yes,
you
sir.
may proceed.
Thank you. Mr. Anthony, the gas can that Mr. Baez spent a good deal of time talking to you about that you gave to law enforcement on August 1st, did they give that back to you the very next day?
It could have been the next day or the day after. I'm not really sure, but it came back fairly quickly.
At the time in July and August of 2008, did you have any idea that that gas can had anything to do with the death of your granddaughter?
No, I did not.
In December of 2008, did its importance become clear?
Objection, Judge. This goes beyond the scope of cross-examination. We didn't discuss anything on the subject.
Overruled.
Could you ask
Sure.
that again, please?
In December 11th and thereafter, did the significance of that gas can become clear?
Yes.
Did you keep possession of that gas can from when they gave it back to you in August until they took it? I'm sorry, let me ask this question. Did they take it from you a second time in December?
Yes.
And did you keep that gas can in your shed along with all your other garden tools from August to December?
Yes.
On August 31st, when you mentioned to the FBI about this incident with the gas can, was that in the context of a several-hour interview about?
Overruled at this point. Let him finish answering the question. Mr. Anthony, do not answer the question until I instruct you to answer. You may continue.
Was the subject matter that the FBI talked to you about a very broad range of subject matters?
Is there an objection to the question that's formed now?
Yes, Judge.
What is the objection?
Leading.
Overruled. You may ask the question.
Yes.
Did they ask you about everything that happened between June 16th and July 15th?
Yes.
And is it in the context of that you mentioned the incident of the 24th?
Yes.
June 24th, on June 24th of 2008, did you believe that your granddaughter was alive and well and being cared for by your daughter?
Yes.
Did you have any reason on June 24th to suspect that your granddaughter was either dead or missing?
No.
When did you first learn that what you thought on June 24th was wrong? That in fact, she wasn't in the care of your daughter?
On June 24th, I didn't see Caylee with Casey.
But when did you first learn that there was a possibility that on June 24th, your granddaughter was at the very least not in the care and custody of your daughter?
Through a conversation I had with my daughter that someone else was watching Caylee.
That was then?
Yes, sir.
But you still thought that your daughter was aware of where she was?
Yes.
Did you learn on July 15th that what you had thought on June 22nd, 24th was in fact not the case?
That was not the case because Caylee wasn't with us. Caylee wasn't at home.
I may have just a moment.
Okay, read crosses to those issues and those issues alone.
You knew on June 24th that these gas cans would become an issue in this case, didn't you, sir?
Objection argumentative.
Sustained.
Not on June 24th.
Objection was sustained. Rephrase your question.
You know that these gas cans are a significant issue in this case, do you not, sir?
I do now.
And it was you who reported these gas cans missing on June 24th, knowing that your daughter had taken gas many times before.
Yes.
And knowing that you never even called your daughter to see if she had the gas cans.
That exceeds the scope of redirect and asked and answered.
Sustained as to asked and answered.
But yet you sit here today, sir, and claim that when you reported these gas cans missing on June 24th, you had absolutely no idea that you would be reporting to the police about a piece of significant evidence in this case.
Objection argumentative, asked and answered.
Overruling and answered for the last time.
On the 24th of June, 2008, I did not know that a few weeks later that my granddaughter would be reported missing. If that's answering your question, sir, that's the best I got at the moment.
Despite that you haven't seen your granddaughter in 9 days and she lived with you every day, right, sir?
Argumentative, asked and answered.
Sustained.
Withdraw the question.
Okay. This may stand down. Thank you, Mr. Anthony. Yes. State may call their next witness.
Thank you, Judge. The state will call Ricardo Morales.
Please raise your right hand and
Solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Once you're seated, say your name and spell it for the record.
My name is Ricardo Morales, Ricardo Morales.
May I inquire, sir?
You may.
Thank you, sir. Good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Morales, how old are you?
I'm 27.
Do you currently live in the state of Florida?
I do not.
What state do you live?
Illinois.
How long have you lived there?
About a year and a half.
Are you married?
Excuse me?
Are you married?
Yes, I am.
Do you have any children?
Yes, one.
Did you live in Florida in 2007 and 2008?
I did.
What were you doing when you were living in you were living in Central Florida in Orlando?
Yes.
What were you doing at the time?
I was working at a car dealership.
At a car dealership?
Yes.
What were you doing at the car dealership?
I worked in the service department, setting appointments for people.
In the service department?
Yes, setting appointments.
Okay.
For car repairs.
Thank you. Do you know Caylee Anthony?
I do.
When did you first meet Caylee Anthony?
I met her June 2007 at a party of one of our mutual friends.
At some point, did you begin to date Caylee Anthony?
I did.
When was that?
It was February of 2008.
When you first started dating the defendant, did she tell you whether or not she had a job?
Yeah, she did tell me she had a job.
Okay. Where did she tell you she worked?
At Universal Studios.
Did she tell you what she did at Universal?
She said she was an event coordinator.
Did she give you any other detail about what her job was?
She said her job required her to give tours of Universal Studios and Islands of Adventures to people from out of town. That was basically her entire job there, from what she told me.
The time that you were dating her in the early months of 2008, did you ever visit her at work?
No, I did not.
Did you ever talk about work?
Occasionally.
Okay. Did she ever mention people that she worked with?
Yes, she said she had a coworker named Juliet, who she talked about on occasion, and a boss named Tom.
Had you ever met those people?
No.
Or spoken to them?
No.
While you were dating her, where were you living?
I was living at 232 North Glenwood Avenue.
Is that a house or an apartment?
It's a townhome.
Townhome? Did you live with anybody else?
I did, with John Chat. John Chat.
Was Mr. Chat living there at the time that you were dating the defendant?
He was.
Were you aware that the defendant had a daughter?
Yes.
Okay, and what was her name?
Caylee.
Okay. Did you know Caylee?
Yes.
Okay. When the defendant came over to you, did the defendant come over to your townhome on a regular basis?
While we were dating, yes.
Okay. Well, let's clear this up. When did you start to date?
In February of 2008.
Okay. At some point, did that relationship end?
It did.
When did that relationship end?
Mid-April of the same year.
Mid-April of 2008?
Yes.
Okay. During that time frame, did the defendant stay over with you?
Yes.
During this time frame, approximately how many times per week would she stay with you?
4 to 5 days a week, nights a week.
The 4 or 5 times a week that she stayed with you, were there any of those occasions where Caylee also stayed?
Almost every occasion.
Did Caylee have her own room?
She did not.
Where did Caylee sleep?
She slept in the bed. I slept on one side, Casey in the middle, and Caylee on the other.
Now, for 4 or 5 times a week, sustained. During this time frame that Caylee was staying over with you and the defendant was staying with you, did Caylee Anthony keep clothes over at your house?
She didn't leave any clothes. She would bring clothes for herself and Caylee, but she never left anything at our house.
How about any toiletries, toothbrushes, hairbrushes,
No.
makeup?
No. Everything, if she did, she brought it with her and took it home.
Can you bring up? Sir, I'm showing you what's been marked for identification B. Can you see that photograph in front of you?
I can.
Do you recognize that photograph?
Yes, I do.
Do you know where that photograph was taken?
Yes, I do.
Where was that photograph taken?
That was my room in the Glenwood apartment. Townhome.
Who's in that picture?
Casey and Caylee.
Do you know specifically when this picture was taken?
The reference of a photograph that's not admitted into evidence.
Your Honor, I'm sorry.
Overrule at this point is foundation.
Thank you, sir. Do you know specifically when that picture was taken?
Your Honor, there was a pretrial ruling as to this photograph. Just wanted to remind the court.
Well, he hasn't done anything with it yet. Let him finish. Continue, Mr. George.
Thank you, sir. Do you know when that photograph was taken?
I would say late January because Caylee has a bruise under her eye.
Okay.
Sir, just
Objection, Judge.
just tell us the date.
I don't know the
Carefully
date.
to the question.
I do not know the exact date that the photo was taken.
Okay.
I have a sidebar. There's
Not right now.
Do you know what room this picture was taken in?
This is my room.
Mr. George, you've
Okay.
set your foundation. That does not go to the foundation, sir.
Very good. Sir, is this a true and accurate representation of what the defendant looked like and how Caylee Anthony appeared back while you were dating in the winter and spring of 2008?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would move what's been previously marked for identification B into evidence as the state's next in line.
Mr. Baez?
Yes, sir. We would object. There had been a
Approach the
pretrial.
sidebar.
Yes, sir.
You may proceed.
Thank you, sir. All right. You and the defendant broke up in mid-April of 2008?
We did?
All right. After you broke up, did you remain in contact with one another?
Yes.
How so?
She'd still come over occasionally, not as frequently as when we were dating, but we maintained our friendship.
Okay. Was the breakup, was it a bad breakup?
No.
During the time that you were dating her,
Overrule.
while you were dating her, Ms. Anthony, did she relate to you any? First of all, did you ever meet George or Cindy Anthony
No.
during the course of your relationship?
No.
Had you ever been over to the house?
Yes.
When were you over at the house?
I went over once early on when we were dating. She invited me over for breakfast.
When you went over there for breakfast, were her parents at home?
No, they were not.
Directing your attention to June 7th of 2008, did you happen to see the defendant on that day?
Yes, I did.
Where did you see her?
She spent the night.
Was Caylee there?
She was.
When did the defendant and
Move to strike.
What is the objection?
Relevance 609.
Overrule at this time.
directing your attention to June 9th and 10th, did you see the defendant on those dates?
I did.
Where did you see her?
She spent the night.
Did you see Caylee on those dates as well?
Strike. 609 and relevance.
Overruled.
Did you see Caylee on those dates as well?
Yes.
Was that the last time you ever saw Caylee Anthony?
The morning of June 10th was the last time I saw Caylee Anthony.
When you saw the defendant on June 9th and 10th, had you been made aware had you ever heard the name of Tony Lazaro before?
Yes.
When did you first hear the name of Again,
Relevancy?
Right. Again, this is just talk. This is just establishing the relationship.
Sustain.
All right. So the last time that you saw Caylee was the morning of the 10th.
Yes.
Did you see the defendant anymore during that week?
No.
When did you see the defendant again?
July 1st.
In between June 10th of 2008 and July 1st of 2008, did you have any contact at all with the defendant?
It was very minimal.
When you say minimal, or what kind of contact did you have?
Maybe 1 or 2 text messages in that time period.
Okay. Those text messages, did they relate? Did the defendant tell you via those text messages that her daughter was missing?
She did not.
Kidnapped?
Nope.
That she was actively looking for her?
No.
That she needed help?
Nope.
That something bad had happened to her?
No.
You mentioned that the next time that you saw the defendant was on July 1st of 2010. Is that correct?
It is.
Were you living in the same residence that you were when the two of you were dating?
I was.
Did you have the same roommate or any additional roommates by July 1st of 2010?
We had a friend sleeping on the couch at that time.
Okay. Who was that?
Amy Heisinga.
Who is Amy Heisinga?
She is a friend of mine and John Schatz. We've known her through college for years. Why was Amy sleeping on your sofa? She got in a car accident. Her car was not working, and our house was close to her job, so she would just sleep on our couch and then go to work.
To your knowledge, was she looking for a place to live?
Yes.
Do you know where she was looking?
She was looking in the area that we lived, anywhere really in Orlando, I think.
Do you know who she was planning on living with?
She had planned on moving in with Caylee Anthony.
Okay. Do you know where she planned on moving in with Caylee Anthony?
Into Caylee Anthony's parents' home.
Did you have discussions with the defendant about her and Amy moving into the house?
I don't believe so, no.
Do you have those discussions with Amy?
Yes.
All right. Now, what were the circumstances by which you saw her on July 1st of 2008?
I was getting up to go to work, and she was sitting in the living room talking with Amy.
This was in the morning?
Yes.
Did you know that she had come over the previous night? Or had she come over the previous night?
June 30th?
No, I'm sorry. On July 1st, were you at home when she arrived?
When I woke up, she was there on July 1st. I don't know when she arrived.
Yeah. If you recall, what was the defendant doing when you first woke up and came down to go to work?
She was sitting in a chair talking to Amy.
All right. Did it surprise you to see her?
I would say, yeah. Yes.
Okay. Why did it surprise you?
I hadn't seen her in a few weeks, and I didn't know she was coming over. So,
did that upset you in any way?
No.
All right. Did you ask her how she was doing?
Probably. I don't remember exactly what we talked about.
All right. Well, when you did see her on July 1st of 2008, did you notice anything about anything strange or different about her demeanor?
No.
She upset?
Nope.
She crying?
No, she was not.
Did she tell you her daughter was missing?
No.
On July 1st of 2008?
No.
Or kidnapped?
No.
That she was looking for her?
Nope.
Or that something really terrible had happened to Caylee herself?
No.
Did you see any change in her demeanor on July 1st than you had on June 10th?
No, not at all.
Now, on July 2nd, did you take a trip?
Yes.
Where did you go?
Excuse me?
Where did you go?
Boston.
And how long were you in Boston?
For a week, 6 days, I think.
When did you come back?
I flew into Orlando on June 8th and immediately left the same day. I didn't leave the airport.
Okay. During the time that you were in Boston, did you have any contact with the defendant?
No.
When you flew in from Boston, I believe you said you never left the airport?
No, I stayed at Orlando at the airport until my next flight.
And where did you go?
To Puerto Rico.
Who did you go to Puerto Rico with?
I flew there alone. I met up with John Chatt, Troy Brown, and Amy Heisinger. Troy Brown and Amy Heisinger.
Was that a trip that had been planned for a while?
Yes.
And by a while, how long are we talking?
Months, maybe 6 months.
Was it always planned out that John Chatt and Amy Heisinger and Troy Brown would go?
Yes.
Was there ever any discussion, did you ever have any discussion with Caylee Anthony about her going to Puerto Rico with you?
I believe she was invited. Yeah, we were dating at the time that we were planning to go to Puerto Rico.
Okay. So that trip was planned back when you were still dating?
Even before, possibly. Yeah, around that time, early in the year, early 2008.
Back in beginning of June of 2008, did you have a belief whether or not the defendant was going to go to Puerto Rico with you and your friends?
I did not think she was going to Puerto Rico with me and my friends.
Did you know she was still invited?
Yeah, I don't remember rescinding the invitation. I'm sure she was still invited, yeah.
Okay. When did you come back from Puerto Rico?
July 15th.
On July 15th of 2008, did you see the defendant?
I did.
Where did you see her?
At the Orlando airport.
Were you expecting to see her at the Orlando airport?
Yes.
Why?
She was picking us up from the airport.
Do you have any idea, or approximately what time did you arrive from Puerto Rico?
I don't know. I believe it was in the afternoon sometime.
Was it daylight?
Yes.
When you saw the defendant on July 15th of 2008, what can you tell this jury about her general demeanor?
She was the same as she always was.
And how is that?
Happy, smiling. She was asking us how our trip was. Just normal Casey.
Okay. Again, on July 15th of 2008, did she tell you that her daughter, Caylee, was missing?
No.
Kidnapped?
No.
That she was actively looking for her on July 15th of 2008?
No.
That anything terrible or horrible had happened to Casey herself?
No.
Did you see anything in either her word or action that gave you any indication that there was anything wrong with the defendant?
No.
Did she give you... Your Honor, this might be a good time to stop.
All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we're going to recess for lunch. I'm going to ask you not to discuss this case among yourselves nor with anyone else. I will be back there with you in just a moment. We'll be in recess till 1:30.